Hi everyone, thanks for joining me and tuning in to my new series, Disaffected Daily, where I'm going to be going through news and current events and give you my take and analysis on what's going on. Today I'm going to be talking about the events related to Charlottesville and the commentary coming out in the past week. Without further ado, all right, thanks for tuning in, and we're going to kick things off with a meme. We're going to call this the meme of the day. So this one comes out of the Complete Anarchy subreddit, and I'll let you read this. So yeah, this is kind of a self-deprecating thing because I definitely have been known to share memes related to politics and think that I'm making a difference. And I would argue that it does make a difference. It's kind of a community building thing. It helps amplify messages, and sometimes it can kind of be a cathartic thing. You are experiencing some stuff in your life and see a nice meme that also reflects going through that stuff and how hard it is, and you don't feel so alone in this dark, horrible world. So yes, memes do build class consciousness, and for that, this becomes the meme of the day. And this show is new, so I haven't quite figured out what to put in this panel below me. So this is going to be the spot for the meme of the day. So there you go. So to start things off, I want to discuss some of the events coming out after the Charlottesville protest and counter-protests. And of course, there was the tragic terrorist attack where Heather Heyer, anti-fascist activist, leftist organizer, was killed. And I'm not going to go over too many of the details of that event specifically because, it's already been over a week by now and you've heard a lot about it, I'm sure, from news and social media. So I wanted to alert you to maybe something that the mainstream media isn't covering as much, and this coverage comes from It's Going Down. They've done a good job at tracking all of the solidarity events after the fact, after Charlottesville. So, we have ones coming out of France, Netherlands, within other states, Indiana, we have Arizona, Massachusetts. So yeah, this is a global showing of solidarity, and thanks to everyone that comes out in support of the anti-fascist demonstrators and against white supremacy. So one of the most notable events of this kind was in Boston on Saturday. This is reported from NPR, and we see that at the Boston right-wing free speech rally, it was dwarfed by counter-protesters, and I think it was reported today the estimated numbers were around 40,000. So thanks to all of you that came out for that and made your presence known. Took a stand against right-wing extremist views, and it's always under this. Well, free speech is kind of used as a protective shield against violent, hateful views, and it's not really applicable in that situation, because free speech, I support it in defense against the state, but that's because the state is the most powerful entity in a given region. But when it comes to hate speech and inciting people to commit acts of violence or coming out in support of genocide, for instance, I do support the idea that the state, again, the most powerful entity, shouldn't come in and stop you. However, I don't think you should be surprised when your peers, other members of the community, people come out and try to stop you from saying what you're saying. It's try to stop you from spreading your hateful, toxic ideas. And yeah, so one of my favorite responses coming out of the Boston rally is from none other than Donald Trump himself, and so this coverage comes from Democracy Now!
On love as a country.
President Trump first condemned the 40,000 people marching against white supremacy in Boston, tweeting, "Looks like many anti-police agitators in Boston. Police are looking tough and smart. Thank you," the president tweeted.
What did
Trump then
to say?
twice attempted to tweet something positive about the protests, but both times had to delete his tweets after he confused heal, as in obey, and heal, as in recover, tweeting, quote, "Our country has been divided for decades. Sometimes you need protest in order to heal,
usage.
and we will heal and be stronger than ever before," unquote. That's HEEL. Trump finally spelled the whole tweet correctly on the third try. Many commented Trump's error was a curious slip given former...
I love that that's just like an observable, reportable fact. Trump got it right. Trump got the tweet right on the third try. Props to Amy Goodman, who delivers stuff like this day in, day out with a straight face. I don't know how she does it. And another kind of response coming out is it's not quite as heinous as the both sides, or, you know, actually coming out and not condemning white supremacy. But what we have here is has been making the rounds. So we see Tina Fey suggesting that the best course of action is to, you know, when the fascists are out organizing in the streets, you should just stay at home and binge eat cake. And, you know, anybody who does otherwise is wrong. And that's the part that gets me. That if you watch the actual video, you definitely get the sense that she's suggesting that, you know, people shouldn't cause a ruckus, and they should really, you know, just ignore fascists. And that doesn't seem to be, well, first of all, that it doesn't seem to be working right now. And then two, you're not doing anything by staying at home, except as it is an act of self-care, I guess you could say. And I do support that. You know, self-care is, you know, your own personal health should be a top priority for you. And if you don't feel the need to go out in the streets and organize, and you feel like you need to, you know, pay attention to yourself, that is something that you should feel perfectly okay doing. So, you know, go ahead, by all means, binge eat a cake if that makes you feel better, and, you know, you feel like you need to, but don't condemn somebody who, you know, feels like they need to go out and resist in a different way. Here's another kind of response, but from a different side. This tweet is in response to, there's a, I guess there's a planned counter rally that's just supposed to be in proximity to, I guess, a fascist demonstration. And it's a dance party, but it says right here, note this at the bottom, the point is not to interrupt or confront the white nationalist rally, but to provide a nearby, better, inclusive, visible alternative. Okay. And then the tweet is saying, this comes from a queer Chicano Chisme, "When I die, please let it be known it's because white people thought it'd be cute to dance the hate away when white supremacists call for my death." And I like this comeback, but I mean, it's funny and punchy and kind of gets a point across of, like, you know, this is a very serious thing that's going on. However, I don't necessarily agree with, you know, condemning this kind of response, because I think that, again, we should be, I'm going to bring up the term diversity of tactics. And I think that when, in the face of oppression, people respond differently, and that you should allow people to respond differently as long as it's in solidarity with you. And so, you know, if somebody wants to come out and have a nonviolent kind of, you know, dance party, I think that they should be free to do that and still be considered part of the response against, you know, fascism and oppression. I think it serves a different purpose, and your tactic is going to be centered on what your goals are. You know, if your goal is to, you know, deplatform and protect people from fascist violence and stop the spread of fascist ideas, you should go out there and meet them head on in the streets. If you are planning to, network with like-minded people and, spread good ideas, and you want to do this nonviolently, that's an option for you too. Dance party would be a great way to do that. So I would say that regardless of what tactics you choose, try to keep, you feel free to criticize whatever you want for whatever reason. Like, that's fine. Like, people are free to do that. But I would just urge people to I would just like to remind people that solidarity should be a top priority. And I could dive more into, the Antifa movement and other responses to it, but I'll save that for another video to keep things short. I will end things, though, on a kind of a light note. So something that you should be looking out for in the near future is the epic clash between the Juggalos and the UltraRight. Yeah, that's right. This is going to be the battle of the century. We have here socialist Juggalos gear up to fight pro-Trump Nazis, and the internet is loving it, myself included. So there is a march on Washington, which is a protest against the government's classification of Juggalos as a gang, which is pretty ridiculous. But this is apparently taking place on the same day as a large Trump rally, mother of all rallies. And this is September 16th at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. And this is going to be great. Because the Juggalos do express, views that come out against extreme right-wing views. Right here we have, let's see. Juggalos call themselves a family, and as a group, they've long been anti-racist, anti-KKK, and anti-Nazi. ICP has songs decrying redneck racists and rapped about scalping skinheads and shitting on a rebel flag. Okay, for those of you who don't know, ICP is Insane Clown Posse, which is like a rap group that dresses up as clowns, and they have a huge cult following, and they call themselves Juggalos. And from what I've heard, like it's a nice community. Like they bond over like good values, and it's clear that they have like left political leanings, and Juggalos, they typically come out of white working class backgrounds, or of lower socioeconomic status. For those people on the left who like overgeneralize and say that like people, the rural folks, like they're all like so backwards, like don't fall into that trap. Yes, red states tend to be from that demographic, but that's not everybody in the state. There are people resisting within those states. Yeah, be prepared for the event of the century, and make sure you're armed with your Faygo. For those who don't know, I just learned about this. As a soda enthusiast, I think it's important to keep track of like all the popular sodas, and this is I guess I think it like came out of Detroit or something, but this is the drink of choice for Juggalos. So on September 16th, right? Yes, on September 16th, make sure to go grab your nearest Faygo and drink one in solidarity with our Juggalo comrades over in DC, fighting the good fight against the Trumps. Oh man. I never thought I'd see the day where Juggalos and Pepe met head on.
Water, fire, air, and dirt. Fucking magnets, how do they work?
So yeah, that's it for today's episode. Thanks for joining me, and leave me some feedback in the comments. Like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, do all that good stuff. Type out a transcript of the show and like get it tattooed on your body. Anything helps. Yeah, please join me next time, where I'm probably gonna dive more into some of the Antifa, the rationale behind Antifa, and going through more headlines. So, yeah. Until next time, cheers.